At question 4 of KAAC District 2024, vector u is defined as u equals 3, 5, x, and vector w is defined as x, 2, x. If vector u is orthogonal to vector w, what is the sum of the possible values for x? So this is a kind of involved problem here. You have to know a few definitions. First of all, a vector is orthogonal if they make a right angle, so if they are perpendicular. That didn't fit on the screen, but that's fine. And that doesn't really help us much, but we know that two vectors are orthogonal or perpendicular if their dot product is 0. And luckily, dot product is a very easy thing to calculate. So if we are given two vectors that each have 3 components, we have, let's say vector A has part x, part y, and part z, and vector B has parts x, y, and z. Then we find the dot product by saying ax times bx plus ay times by plus az times bz. So now we just need to plug in the information we know from our vectors. So we have 3 times x plus 5 times 2 plus x times x. Right? So we have 3x plus 10 plus x squared, and if we want it to be orthogonal, it has to be equal to 0. If you're paying attention, you'll know that this is a quadratic. We have x squared plus 3x plus 10 equals 0. Now you could try to factor it. I'm going to go ahead and tell you it doesn't work, so we're going to plug it into the quadratic formula. So if you'll remember the quadratic formula, when we have a quadratic written in ax squared plus bx plus c, we say that x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. Now a in this quadratic is a 1 since there's nothing written there. We know b is 3 and c is 10. So x is going to be equal to negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10 all over 2 times 1. And it's just simplifying from here. So we have negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 40 divided by 2. All right, and we are going to keep going even though we have a negative here. We have negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 31 divided by 2. And if you'll notice, we can't do the square root of negative 31 because that would give us an imaginary number. But it's not actually going to make a difference here because we want to know the sum of the possible values of x. So we're going to take negative 3 plus the square root of negative 31 over 2. And we're going to add that to negative 3 minus the square root of negative 31 over 2. And we're going to see what happens to this. So I can split each of these fractions into negative 3 over 2 plus square root of negative 31 over 2. And then I'll have negative 3 over 2 minus the square root of negative 31 over 2. And something nice happens here. These radicals cancel out. We have a positive and a negative version of the same thing. All right, now here we're going to be adding together 2 negative 3 over 2's. So that's going to give me negative 6 over 2, which gives me negative 3. So if we go back up to our answers, the answer to this one is B.